still in the playoff hunt, so getting Ezekiel Elliott back this week couldn't come at a better time. The star running back has missed the last 6 weeks after his suspension, but rejoined his team on the field yesterday, and that is all Zeke wants to focus on, and certainly all he wants to talk about. Take a listen.
I'm not really going to talk about it. It's behind me. I'm just trying to start a new page, a new chapter, and I'm going to thank, this Cowboys organization for being behind me. Thank for my family and my team and my friends for just supporting me through the time, and especially the Cowboys fans who stuck by me through this tough time and having a lot of faith in me. But I'm not talking about it anymore. This is going to be the last time you hear me speak about it, so please don't even ask me about it.
Zeke with a little chip on his shoulder held a little press conference there, a little impromptu press conference, lasted all of 70 seconds. Been gone for 6 weeks. I just thought maybe we'd hear a little bit more from him, but he doesn't want to talk about it.
What's he supposed to say, though?
He's supposed to say that, you want me to tell him you want to know what I think?
Yeah, ask you a question. What's he supposed to say?
He's supposed to say, I spent 6 weeks away from the game. I learned a lot, not only about myself, I learned a lot about the game. I learned about the person I can be and I want to be. I've gotten myself in shape. I'm a better person in my head and in my heart. Physically, I'm a better person. I'm really excited to be back. I've done a lot of thinking. I think I've made some changes in my life, and I'm looking forward to the future.
And if I can add to that, as I think that's really well done, I think Zeke missed the mark somewhat, and don't ask me about it, I don't want to talk about it, is I think in your first one back, you have to know those questions are coming, and I think what you have to do in that spot is say, listen, after today, I am not talking about this anymore. So whatever you guys need to ask me today, I understand. I may or may not answer, but I know you guys have a job to do. After today, I am moving on. So get them done with now. The fact that he seemed to think he got to just decide we're not talking about this anymore. When you've been gone for 6 weeks, everyone's going to want to talk.
But he actually picked up where it was 6 weeks ago. I'm not answering questions about the suspension. All right. So he didn't change. All right. We just forgot that he was not answering the questions before, and we forgot that he said that he was innocent. So for us to say that he learned something, I know privately these things are accurate, and he thinks these things, but just because he didn't say them in the press conference, that doesn't make him wrong. If he actually thinks them and is working on them, what would y'all rather him do? Say it in the press conference and not be working on it, or be working on it and not say it?
Oh, but that's a false choice to me, because you could do both. You could say it and...
Yeah, but that doesn't make it wrong. It's easy to sit here, because I've been suspended. I've had a lot of these press conferences, and everyone always does it right when it's not them, compared to being in the moment.
And I think he can't control whether or not we talk about it, but he can control what he says about it.
Yes.
Would I have liked to have seen more? Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from him, but he's also went through media prep. He sat with the director of public relations, and I'm sure
Bruce
they
Dowd,
went through
one
questions.
of the best in the league.
And they got to a point where they said, okay, this is what you're going to cover. This is what you should probably stay with. And then if that's where you're comfortable, then move on and let's focus on the game. The
only problem, and then we'll move on, is that when you don't say something like what you said, it just opens it up for more questions week after week, because the media don't feel like they get their questions answered when he says he's not answering the questions. But that's what's going off the field. On the field, Cowboys have really needed Zeke back the last 6 weeks, Coach. They've gone 3-3. And we've seen some of their issues exposed. I'm wondering now, in your opinion, is it realistic to think that just getting Zeke back is going to plug all those holes and suddenly this is going to be a complete team again?
Well, I was wrong when he first got suspended, because I thought that the Cowboys, knowing that eventually he was going to have to leave and knowing that he was going to have to leave for an extended period of time, that they would have done more to compensate for that, to plan for that. And they lose the first 3 games after he gets suspended. And really, offensively, it was ineffective. It was an offense that it went from an incredibly high level of efficiency, being able to dominate a lot of games and control the time of possession, to one that was ineffective. And it wasn't just ineffective in the running game. That wasn't the issue. It was the passing game that was so surprising to me. Guys were struggling getting open. And even though Zeke is back and they're going to have to do some things differently defensively, they need to straighten out the ability to get open against tight man-to-man coverage, which they've struggled with now for 6 weeks.
So the other part that Zeke, where I think he will help, and it's a point Chris had been making all year, was the Cowboys' style of defense. If you think back to the Colts defense with Peyton, fast, undersized, play with the lead, get after the passer, right? So like the Cowboys, because of that, they are, as Chris would say, they are designed to play 26 to 28 minutes. When you have an effective running game, we've seen it this year. When they run the ball 30 times, they allow 16 points a game. When they run the ball less than 30 times, they allow 31 points per game. So like, even though Zeke obviously doesn't play defense, the effective running game has helped that defense because where they are their best, Sean Lee's good at just about everything, but their most talented players are David Irving and DeMarcus Lawrence. Those are pass rushers. Those aren't run stoppers. The pass rushers can excel more when they're playing with a lead and when you're fresh because you haven't been on the field as much.
Well, look, to discount what Sean Lee does on that defense, I wouldn't do that.
I didn't. No. I was saying those are their two most talented players other than Sean.
No, I know, because those numbers are pretty staggering when he plays versus when he doesn't play. And I'd say that they're probably a lot more compelling than Zeke playing or not playing.
It's interesting with Dallas because Zeke is back, but they still have some glaring weaknesses. Their inability to make plays in the passing game, especially big plays, third down conversions in big plays. If they had that, because that's what they had last year, and that's what made this team and that's what made this offense special. Those situations are still going to be there. Now they're going against a Seattle team, all right, that's banged up, dismantled. I mean, Bobby Wagner playing on one leg last week. I mean, how much professional pride do the Seahawks have in come back with this week? Because last week they were totally embarrassed. So their matchups are nice. Even in the secondary, they're not facing Sherm and Chancellor. So they should be able to get after this Seattle team and be very impressive in doing it.
Yes, go ahead.
Weren't you surprised, though, Chris, when you watch these games, that when they were staying in extended formations and stationary formations, and guys not being able to get open, I thought they would move to more bunches and stacks and condense things and try to create some things offensively, and that's where I was most disappointed. So hopefully now with getting Zeke back, that'll go back to what it was.
Right, and that's something that Nick had brought up to me, Chris. Okay, because I've been down on the receiving core of Dallas for a year and a half with their lack of separation, lack of big play. Nick was like, well, what about the coach, Chris? Like, isn't he supposed to? You tell me that New England, these other teams, they put these guys in winning situations. And I'm going to tell you, Nick, I like Scott Linehan. I haven't been as critical of him as possible, but they have not, from a creative standpoint, put Dallas in a situation that we see other teams do. They're pretty stationary, they're easy to read, and they're very easy to predict based on formations, what type of plays, especially their passing game, and what they're going to do.
It's tough to do when your best receiver can only play one spot on the field.
Yes.
Tough to do a lot of super creative things when you can only line that guy up in one place.
Coach, thanks so much.
Appreciate you.
Always appreciate it.
You here tomorrow after ice skating?
Here tomorrow, yeah.
All right, I'm with you at Rockefeller Center, 9:45.
Coach, don't wear them leotards no more out there on the ice.
That's very flattering.
Only because of your body type.
Yeah,
the only way. Coming up is LeBron James about to have not one but two NBA players, all NBA players joining him in the coming weeks. Next on First Things First.